So this may seem like a weird topic to kind of talk about, but I think I'm gonna try to talk about it, bring it back into the forelight. I think that's probably the best way to talk about it, and that situation is more like Kanye and J. Cole, right? And I think that if you ask me which artist is necessarily better, I think I'm a fan of both, really. If you ask me who you're more of a fan of, and I'm going to end up with the same answer. I'm a fan of both. I think both are great at their crafts, right? And that's not necessarily what we're looking at now. We're just looking at hip-hop, rap, the way that we really portray people. We're just kind of looking at that necessity of that, because it's a weird thing to go, who's the greatest? Who do we call a genius in hip-hop, which has its own kind of flaws if you ask me, but we're going to look at that and look at J. Cole's False Prophet and compare it, right? Because I think, if you ask me, it's a weird thing, especially looking at how this song aged. So, we'll see. We'll talk about this real quick. Let's see if we have any sponsors and we're going to rank
up. This episode is brought to you by Snapple. Welcome to the Snapple Market Auditory Experience. Close your eyes. Imagine you're walking into your neighborhood store. You make your way to the back and reach for your favorite Snapple flavor. You can't wait. You take a sip. Whoa, that's a lot of flavor. What flavor are you holding? Now open your eyes and check out Snapple.com to find ridiculously flavorful Snapple near you.
Okay, so first I want to start off by saying that this isn't, in the song originally, if you look at the song, it's not really a diss track to Kanye West. It's not a diss track like any rapper in particular. I think it's more of somebody being disappointed. Like, I think there have been rumors that Kanye asked J. Cole to check him if he went too far. And as we see, I think he has to kind of check his kind of values in the way that he does it, right? Because it's weird. Like, as I said, people would take it as a diss song. And, right, J. Cole is very articulate in things he wants to say and very to the point, not very subtle. He doesn't really, like, subtly diss anybody. However, we've seen that, right? But we also see a Kanye kind of evolving into being more of Kanye, which, if you ask me, hip-hop does consider Kanye to be one of the greats of hip-hop, no matter if that's producing, and him producing albums and songs like Dark Twisted Fantasy, his album, which was Graduation, Late Registration, Jesus Walks. I think if you ask me, like, what we're looking for, basically, when we talk about how did the song age, we're going to look and see if it kind of changed these two artists, right? And I think J. Cole, especially because everyone dies, and then False Prophet came out, and False Prophet is what we're going to talk about, but False Prophet is kind of J. Cole just kind of pointing out the kind of the fallacies that arrive in hip-hop. Like, we have especially in hip-hop, American hip-hop has its flaws. I think if you, because we claim people are the great and stuff that they do, and that's not taken away from anything Kanye has done, right? Like, Kanye is considered great. Now, I'm not saying that when you are a rapper or in hip-hop, you have to have a certain kind of view, right? A certain kind of view on, certain things like jazz. Jazz is more, like, very much opinionated, right? Like, hip-hop really isn't. We've kind of seen that through comparisons between these two, but I think J. Cole says that he knows that once that respect that legends get, like, hip-hop has labeled Kanye as a genius for the way he expresses himself through art, the music, and songs like, Jesus Walks, Late Registration, like the song Rose is only Registration, the Big Brother on Graduation, All the Lights, My Dark Twisted Fantasy, Monster with Nicki. Like, Kanye is a genius. I think they consider him musically because of the collaboration he's been able to pull off the art he's been able to do in the collaborations, the music, the beats, the melodies. Everything Kanye has done from beat production has been everything. But he says that J. Cole says I praise him so much, and stuff that he wrote and some of the lyrics he did not write had people write, which is it's known. If you look at Kanye albums, you can look at the credits and you'll see that he didn't write some of these songs, or he had co-collaborators that worked on a song with him. I'm not sure how it works, but Kanye, if you ask me, has never had ghostwriters that kept him to like a certain perspective. And you can see this on like Donda, Yay, like these albums are more of a Kanye feel. Like these were uncensored. These had a lot of things that a normal Kanye album, like college drop. It's late registration. It's graduation. Why do I feel like there's another Kanye album that I'm missing that comes in that order? But I think it's With the Jesus Walks, right? And I'm curious because I think because in my head it's like registration. Jesus Walks is a College Dropout. The album, I know this album, but I got to make sure that it's the right album. Yeah, it's College Dropout. Yeah, what I'm saying is that Kanye has been very, he paints a picture in his messages, or Ye versus the World, where he was just kind of expressing himself. Like over the time, Kanye has to just kind of pushed himself to where he has to be like almost like the center of attention, and I think that's not intentional. I just think that's the way Kanye is. He's very expressive, and so when J. Cole called him out on his song, and everyone thought that this wasn't going to age well, or that Kanye was going to dial it down, right? But I think we've seen that that's not what happened. He started a school, got very religious, as Kanye's always been religious, but I think you've seen him be more religious now. I don't necessarily say that it changed Kanye, right? Like, I don't see the change in the amount of money he was making, hugely different to the way he's living. He's living a certain way that he lived, and that's fine, When you get money, you want to live a certain way. I don't see a problem with that, but I think Kanye has a way of not articulating things that he wants to say correctly. And I think that's why J. Cole created this song called False Prophet, because we looked up to Kanye as a prophet, and because Kanye is so much, people assume Kanye is a deep thinker, right, and not based off emotion, which I would argue that Kanye, some of his thoughts are based off of emotion more than articulated thought. But he's very, he does it, he has a big enough platform and all this other thing that equates to it. And I think J. Cole wasn't saying that Kanye is not a legend or a genius, but some of the things that he says doesn't always come out clear. They come out in like Kanye language where it sounds right. This is the best way to explain it. When you have people that are famous, they have PR teams, and PR teams tell them what to say and what not to say. We assume from this we assume from this upgrade of Kanye, he doesn't have a PR team, so they're not telling him what he can and what he cannot say, right? So if they are, they're doing terrible. But he's just very expressive in the things that he says, and J. Cole calling him out, saying he writes what's in his heart, not what makes him famous, because Kanye writes what's in his heart, never about what's gonna make him famous. The beats might be legendary, but it's never to get popularity or fame or to be recognized. It's more they're gonna write what's in their heart. And I think we take into account that Kanye doesn't write all of his stuff, and these standards that Kanye has now, exactly, which is a weird thing. I think the song aged well, but I think Kanye, for some people, has went too far, right? But I think that ends up being the end line that J. Cole says. He says everyone talks about being a man, but but in society they don't really have a true definition of what being a man is, right? But I think Kanye has in his mind, in his mind, if you ask him, he has a consent idea of what he wants, right? But if you ask him to articulate it right, he might not articulate it the right way. Like if he had a PR team, they might pick at these words and say, hey, this is what you should use instead of this. Or this is how you should phrase it instead of that. Right? That's not necessarily what's happening. Kanye's just speaking off of emotion. And I think it's not coming out as a clear thought for some people. And they're quick to judge it or quick to hate it because of the speaker. And I'm not saying that because it's Kanye we should not hear the message out because it's Kanye, or we should hear the message because it's Kanye and he has a big platform and he's always right. I'm not saying that no one's ever always right, but I think, and I'm looking at this song a couple years past after it was released, and I think it still holds true. I think some of these points that he made are still true. I think J. Cole and Kanye used to make music for the love of music. J. Cole still does it. Kanye is more for the art and the money, which I'm not saying that I'm not saying being a rapper isn't a hard business, or being an entertainer isn't, get the fruit of your labor. Basically, the money you put into it is the money you're getting back in return, basically. However, I think Kanye's looking at the money aspect of it. Kanye's made some weird things that, if you think about it, they're based true love emotion. Has to deal with Adidas. Them trying to form a Kanye shoe and them saying that he can't wear any of his products, but Kanye is Kanye. Kanye is a brand and icon, a genius to some. So he stands for so much that whatever Kanye says for most people is what they go with without really. For example, a lot of people don't read the terms of agreement before they sign a contract. Rappers have been doing it for years. They just sign a contract because they want the advance, or they want the recognition, not because, hey, this in a business standard will help me. But I think J. Cole realizes that there's some flaws to Kanye, which I think he saw early, and he called him out. As I said, this is more of a disappointed song, not a diss song in the traditional sense, which J. Cole's never really did a diss song. He's more of a disappointed song, where he's just disappointed in the person and just kind of tries to twist it and fix it to make it sound right on a great beat and articulates very well. Kanye is that. I don't think he does it that way, and I think some of it comes off as a shock to some people or too much over for some people, which I get it as Kanye. You're very skeptical of it, but being skeptical of what is being said is good. However, a lot of people don't read into details either. So I just think overall this song aged well, but I think it also aged Kanye to a point where society's not necessarily ready for it, but Kanye tries to make points that the world isn't ready for at the time, and sometimes overboard. That's just a summary of it.